this was the case for Lewis, that you really need to switch up your mindset and how you approach the competition, because more often than not, there's meets that we're going to go to that we can't be safe. And Lewis all season would win the weight by 3, 4, 5, 6 meters sometimes in competition, and there just wasn't anybody to push him, right? Like, it was more of trying things out in meets. Let's see how much we could win a competition by. That was a fun one that we played a few times, just to kind of switch things up, to refocus, purpose energy in the competition. And on the drive home from Ohio, or from Ashland rather, we talked a lot about that, about being passive in round 1 and round 2. Then you kind of get this little sense of, oh my goodness, like, I drove all this way, like, what's going to happen? And I did a poor job of, like, really talking it up and really thinking about, like, you really need to bring the A game today. Like, you got to go 55, 56 meters to give yourself a chance to make the finals. And we had been in that situation basically all season, right? He had made the finals every meet, thrown, I think, every meet over 55 meters from the get-go, from early April. So at Ashland, much like Dylan at Ohio State, there was a little something different, a little different atmosphere, different than nationals. Like, Lewis was already a 2-time All-American. He was a national champion, right? But it was different. And it's difficult. I don't know, I was talking to some coaches this weekend at Fisher about it. Like, I think it's difficult to try and replicate what that looks like, what that sensation feels like in competition in your practice sessions, right? Especially depending on your training group. Like, Lewis had great training partners, so it was really easy and indoor to replicate that. Tyler was a 17-meter thrower. Brandon was almost a 17-meter thrower. So there was some competition. But when we would go to outdoor meets, then it was night and day, right? And, Lewis had maybe 10 meters on his teammates, which the cones and flags became our friends as far as where to push, where not to push, and how to move forward. So, in the disappointment of the conversation with Lewis on the way home from Ashland, I said, we really need to turn it up a little bit. And he kind of looked at me, and I think he was still frustrated, very upset about the competition. But I knew I could push in this direction, and I said, we really need to start taking things a little bit more seriously and not play it safe and really kind of go, I said gangbusters. I don't know if that's the right terminology to use, but every coach is going to be different. And I said, we really need to start amping it up in these meets, man. Like, we can't be passive in round 1, round 2, round 3, and then kind of let our hands go in rounds 4, 5, and 6. Like, we really need to start pushing our average in the prelims to get us more ready for the finals. So he didn't really say anything to me for a couple hours, actually, from the better part of like Erie almost to Angola exit. So if 90, that corridor, didn't really say much of anything. And then he said, okay. He's like, we're going to start pushing a little harder in practice, and I'm going to set a personal best tomorrow. I was like, okay. I was like, it's a little late. I was like, make sure you do whatever you need to do tonight and tomorrow morning to get ready for that. And, I dropped him off at, on campus, and that was it. And sure enough, the next day, 2 seasonal bests in rounds 1 and 3. So I already started pushing over 57 meters. And then round 4 is our round. Came out and just dropped a personal best, which I thought was a little early in the season to be doing that. But Lewis went just over 58, it was 58.80, something like that. So his personal best by about 30 centimeters. And he hadn't thrown that far since nationals the year prior. So we had been building. His average was about 2 meters better than where it was the year before. So we were getting better and putting together better clumps of throws, but we still hadn't had that like outlier. So he sets a facility record, meet record, everything, and we were talking after the competition, much like Dylan and I, we were talking after Fisher this past weekend, and he said, it makes sense now, like we need to go every throw. And it's interesting because in any competition that I've been to, that I've competed in personally, that's a little bit more higher stakes, there is no fear. All the not Akron meets, all of the Kent State meets, all of the Cornell meets, all of the competitions, competing against Jesse Doty, and when it was kind of competitive with the Ashland crew and things like that, there is no fear. It is 100% every single throw, every single attempt. And if you foul out, you foul out. And I don't know if that was the conversations that Judd would have with Kibwe, and AG about those things, but it was all out every single throw. And it wasn't just them. Adrian, same thing. Every single